Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I have kind of an interesting little video and something that I want to talk about. So I have been on eBay for, I think, since like 2009. I've been a seller and I've been a buyer. And I've had a few issues as a seller, but they were small things, easy to fix. I worked with all of my buyers whenever I had any little issue. So I haven't really, had too much issues with that. As far as like buying goes, I really haven't had any issues with buying up until this point. So basically what happened is I bought an item that I'm going to get into in a minute. And, it looked good on the listing. The seller had 100% positive feedback, all good feedback. I did read some of the negative and neutral comments that the person had, but, I was like, all right, still overall, person's got a good rating. Let's give it a try. And I purchased the item. I purchased the item on December 6th. And the item came in on December 13th. So it had pretty good shipping because I ended up paying for the item the next day on the 7th. Excuse me. So, and I had let the seller know that, I will pay for the item the next day because it was like midnight when I bought it. And, the seller actually responded and said, that's fine. And then, I purchased the item. And then I get the item in on the 13th. And, it said that the item was new and stuff like that. And it just was not new. Not new at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert the video clip that I took to show you the actual listing that I got. And then I'm going to show you the actual item and, how it came. And then obviously explain a little bit more about what happened when the item came. And then I'll insert those pictures. Okay, so this is the listing for the item that I purchased. These are the 4 photos that it shows. Okay. It says it's new. See other details. Item description, open box, new units, factory locked/secured. Will be sold with original factory activation code. Then when you click to read more, this is the description. The Sleepfrog Epic tablet is new and from an open box. Some of the boxes I removed price tags and any store stickers. The factory setting is locked/secured. I will be sending the individual activation code with the unit. Has $120 worth of preloaded apps and videos in it. Parental controls and kid-safe browser. This is a free shipping item ready to wrap for a gift. So this was the description. Now I'm not going to show you the seller's information at all because I'm not going to blast the seller. But this is what I ordered. So, and this is a single listing. This one is a single listing, not a multiple listing. So I'm assuming the item I'm going to receive is what is shown in these pictures. Just going to zoom in on the pictures just so that you can see them better. Okay. So that is this listing. All right. So that was how, the listing looked. I looked at the pictures. It was a single listing and all of that stuff. So I was like, all right. So the item I see in the pictures is the item I'm going to get. It didn't say anywhere in the description that, pictures might not be the actual item, none of that. It was a single listing. So I get the item and it comes packaged in, a good box. I'm not going to show the other side because I don't want to show any information. It had like all these in there to help keep it secured and everything like that. But if you looked in that video and on those pictures, you saw what the box looked like. You saw the activation code that was on the side of the box and all of that. So this was the box that I had received. As you can see, it does not match the picture from right here on the box, as well as the activation code. It's totally different. And when I looked closer on the pictures that they have on as well, these numbers right here do not match the one that is in the picture. Now, mind you, it was a single listing. A single listing is supposed to have images of the item you're going to receive, that exact item. Now, if you had a multiple listing, which I will get into in a minute because the seller has a multiple listing of the same thing, and I will show you that in a minute. So you should be getting the item that is in the pictures. If you looked in those pictures, you know, the cord was all neatly wrapped together, still in the plastic. You know, it just looked really good. So like I said, this was the box, not the one in the picture at all. So then I opened it up because I'm like, all right. And you see this, so it's had everything in its contents. You know, it had the little setup card just to show you. But what I also noticed in this box was there was no activation code. Now, it was written on a sticky thing on the side. So if this is brand spanking new, okay, your activation code is going to be on a little card that comes with this. Not this card. This should have been another card. And if you look in those pictures where it shows the tablet, you know, sitting up or the box is open, and then you see like this card in the back, and then there's another like little card in front of it, that other little card should have been the activation code. There should have been no need for the activation code written on the side if this was a brand new item, because if you read right here, okay, product requires activation code. And another thing that I noticed when I got the item, and I actually set it all up for my daughter because this is her Christmas gift, and it never asked for an activation code. So I contacted Leapfrog in a little like chat thing, or, you know, whatever it was. And I like, you know, researched it, asking like, where does this activation code go? And it said that when you start it up, you know, it should ask for the activation code. It never asked for the activation code. I also asked that, you know, if it has been factory restored, would you need an activation code to be put back in? And it said no. And all the research and stuff that I saw, I didn't see anything that talked about, you know, having to put the activation code in if it's been factory restored and stuff like that. So right there, my gears were turning that I don't think this is brand new. I think this might have been an item that was used or refurbished, and that's why the activation code was already set up, but they were selling it as new. So then when you open it up, you know, you see the tablet like this, and I still have the plastic piece on it because, like I said, this is for my daughter's Christmas gift, and I'm gonna now take the plastic off it. But so this is, you know, the tablet. It's a really good tablet. It looks good. There are no scratches or scuffs or anything around on this piece, but in the photos that I'm going to put in a minute, you'll see all the issues I ran into as I further inspected it. So the first things I noticed was the stylus, because, you know, I had to use it to set it up. I noticed that there, and I will make sure I put pictures in there as well, but there are a bunch of like scratches or bite marks. My camera does not want to focus. Hold on. Well, you'll see it better in the pictures, but there are like scratches and bite marks all like on the stylus. So I'm like, okay, that's not how it's going to come from the factory. And then, like I said, upon further inspection, I had decided to peel this off to, you know, check for it. And it was on this side. Like I said, I've already cleaned it because this is her Christmas gift. But there was like white residue stuck here. There was like, it was crusted all over here. all underneath the film. It was on the screen over here and over here. So I was like, okay, this definitely is not new. So I sent the seller a message, you know, stating like, look, the stylus had, you know, issues. And then I was trying to find out where the activation code goes. So that was basically the first email, was me asking, where does the activation code go? It didn't ask for it. I didn't know if it was something I had to put in order for like all of the apps to show up that were like preloaded on it. But all her apps that were preloaded were there as soon as I set up her account. So it wasn't making sense of why you would need the activation code. So then further inspection of the box, you get the little like booklet. That's just like the instructions booklet. So, I mean, that was fine. And you know, it's in all relatively good condition. You had like another kind of like charger thing, or to connect it to like a computer. And then this is the other thing that I knew that this was not new. This was how the cord came. If you saw it in the picture, it was neatly wrapped up, like a normal cord that comes as, and this is exactly how it came. Exactly how it came. Now, mind you, when you purchase something brand new, it already has a slight charge on it, if not a full charge. This was completely dead. I had to plug this in order to charge it, to set it up to make sure that it functioned. So this didn't even have any form of a charge on it at all. And so, you know, the cord showed up like this. I pulled it out, you know, the cord works, everything works. So I'm not mad that, you know, it's not broken or anything. But it does, you know, it does work. But again, this is how it showed up. So I'm like, that's not new. So, you know, I turn it on, I set it all up, and it works and everything like that. And, you know, like I said, in further inspection, I saw all the other things that were wrong with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert those pictures right now so that you can see what I mean. It's closer pictures of the stylus. It's pictures of all the white stuff around it. Obviously, you're not going to see that on it now because I cleaned it all off. And then there's a picture of the box to show the activation code, because I use that picture to send into eBay to show, look, this is not the same item on this listing. So I'm going to only insert the pictures of the stylus and the tablet itself with all the white stuff on it. So you'll see that now. So after you saw those pictures, you can see why my concern is, look, this is not new. It says it is a new item. It did not say it was refurbished. It did not say it was lightly used, like new. It said it was a new item. It did say it was in an open box, so I knew when I purchased the item that it was going to be an opened box. But I assumed it was an opened box for pictures, not that it was a used item. So then, you know, I immediately got on the phone and contacted eBay right after I was done inspecting the item. And I said, look, this item is not as described. It is not new like they're saying. It has, you know, the white stuff on it, the marks on the stylus. I explained all of that to them. And I told them I only want a partial refund. I wanted a partial refund because the item does work. And I had already pre-set it up. So thus, in my eyes, it is no longer new. And I did not want the seller to then resell it as a new item when it's not new. So I was like, look, I'm happy with the item. The item itself works. I'm just not happy with that it wasn't as described. You know, it was dirty. It had bite marks. Like, it was just not a new item. So I was like, I want a partial refund. I want to keep the item, but I want half of my money back. So eBay is like, all right. They walked me through setting up the actual, you know, refund for it. And I also asked them questions before I even, you know, sent the request off while I was on the phone with them. And I said, look, is this going to be an issue? Like, what if the seller says, you know, no, I'm not doing a refund, or I'll do a full refund, but I won't do a partial refund? Like, where does it go from there? And all they kept telling me was that, you know, well, we have to wait until the seller responds. Once the seller responds, then we'll be able to figure out how to go from there. They said if the seller does not want to do a partial refund or gives you a full refund and you only wanted a partial refund, because if I do a full refund, I have to send the item back. So they said if the seller does that, then contact us, you know, immediately, and we will work with you to get this so that you can get your partial refund. So I said, okay. So I sent the request off for the return while the lady was still on the phone with me. She went in, looked up, she looked at all the pictures, and she said, I see exactly what you're talking about. She looked at the listing and she looked at the one that I sent her. Of all the pictures, the activation codes were different. You know, all the images that you saw that I just showed you of the item of how it was, that clearly it was not new. And it was not as described and not the item in the picture as shown. Again, a single listing with the images. You're supposed to say either it's a stock photo if it's a stock photo, or you're supposed to say, you know, that, you know, this is the item. If in a single listing, if it is a stock photo, you're supposed to say stock photo, or, you know, something of that nature. I know that from being a seller myself and an honest person. Like, I'm trying to be a very honest person, and this just drives me nuts because the seller has another listing up for 2 more, exactly the same listing as the single listing that I had. Only it's for a multiple listings for 2 more. So it's the same pictures of the one that I had on my listing, same description, everything, saying that they're new, but they're not new. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert that clip right now so that you can see that. So I went into the seller's other listing, and it's got the exact same listing of the one that I purchased that was a single listing. Only difference is this is a multiple listing. They had 2. They have 1 left. Again, item description is exactly the same. I'm trying not to show the seller's information, but it says right there, open box, new units, factory locked / secured, and will be sold with factory activation. And when you hit read more, it's exactly the same thing that I read to you in the last one. Now, if I go back up to the pictures are the exact same as the one, you can see by the activation code, the exact same one in the single listing one that I did. Now, what you're supposed to do when you sell things on eBay is you're supposed to have multiple pictures of each item. If you are doing a multiple listing item like this particular one, you should have down in your description, in this part right here, that item may not be 1 in picture, have 2. Or however many quantity you have, just so that they're aware that you are not getting the one picted in the picture. Now on mine, because it was a single listing and not a multiple listing like this, it did not even have that. So that's why I assumed I was getting this particular one that you were seeing in these pictures. And again, I'm going to go through the pictures. They're the exact same pictures. Look how nice this box is. This is a completely brand new box. New box, new everything, okay? This is what this one looks like. All the cords and stuff are all still nicely wrapped and everything. So like I said, that was the clip of the other listing that this person is now trying to do to other people. Same images of the one on the single listing. The images are not different. Does not list like, you know, pictures are not, may not be the item received, blah, 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 like you should. Now, I then get an email saying that the seller accepted my return request. So I click on the email and it shows a full refund. And I'm like, but I didn't ask for a full refund. So I immediately call eBay back and I said, look, I just got a notification that the seller accepted my refund, but it's for a full refund and I wanted a partial refund. I said I wanted to keep the item, but the item was not as described and came used, not new. So I wanted to get half of my money back. I said I spoke with somebody, they walked me through the process, and they told me if the seller, you know, came back with something different, you know, for me to contact you guys. And they go, okay. They're like, well, we don't see that right now. It doesn't show that. Where is it shown? I said, I just got the email. So they refreshed their system and they're like, yep, we see it here. They did it for a full refund. They're like, so you can go ahead and send the item back. I'm like, you're not listening to me. I said, I don't want to send the item back. I said, I've already set this item up for my daughter. I took the time to clean and sanitize it because of all the white stuff that was all over it. I said, I don't know what that substance was. I said, you know, the stylus was chewed or scratched or whatever it is. It's not new. It's not what is described, but I'm not going to be able to get another one in time to be able to get it for my daughter for Christmas. I'm like, that was the whole reason why I purchased this and why I purchased it in the beginning of the month. And it's not like a last minute purchase, you know? So I was like, so like, what's going on? So then, you know, they tell me, oh, well, you know, we're going to email him again and see if he responds. And if, you know, he doesn't respond, then, you know, after the 20th, you know, we can get into trying to help you with this issue. They also told me at that time that if the seller either A, didn't respond to any of my messages, or eBay, is that they would then go in my favor, let me keep the item and give me the full refund. So I was like, okay, like all I'm asking for is a partial refund, but if that's how, you know, you guys do it, then that's how you guys do it. Okay. So then they had me physically call the seller to leave him a message because he didn't answer, to see if he would do a partial refund. I was like, and what if the seller gets, you know, aggressive or whatnot on the other end of the line? Like, how am I supposed to take that? And they just told me just call them back immediately if the seller A, doesn't respond or is rude to you. So the seller doesn't contact me back at all. And I ended up calling eBay back immediately because I'm like, look, they didn't respond to me calling them. They're not responding to my email. I had sent them another email saying, hey, just wanted to let you know that I called. eBay told me to call you. I was the one that just called. Here's my phone number. I gave my phone number. You know, I'm like, please contact me because I only wanted a partial refund. I didn't want a full refund. I wanted to keep the item, but the item was not as described. So, and it was not new. So, you know, I don't get any response back. So, you know, I'm telling eBay this and they're like, well, at this point, all we can do really is send him another message and see if he responds. And if he doesn't, you know, respond to you by the 20th, then go ahead and give us a call. Well, today is the 19th. I called today because I have so much stuff going on tomorrow that I'm not even going to have a chance to be able to get on the phone and contact. So I call eBay back this morning and I'm on the phone for about maybe an hour and a half, almost 2 hours talking with them. And they just keep spewing, well, there's nothing we can do. The only options you have is to either, you know, send the seller the item back before, you know, like the 20th, or, you know, you'll get your refund, or you keep the item and we close this claim out in the seller's favor, meaning the seller gets to keep his money. So I'm like, well, that's not what I'm being told. And then they told me that, you know, like, oh, well, then that was something you should have done in the beginning and not have waited. You've waited too long. And I'm like, how did I wait too long? I followed every single solitary thing that you guys told me to do. I followed everything. I did what you said. I contacted the seller. The seller didn't respond back. I contacted you guys back. You guys are telling me I need to wait. And now you guys are telling me that what you told me in the beginning, that if I didn't hear back anything from the seller and the seller didn't contact you guys back about the partial refund request and not a full refund, that then I would get to keep the item and I would get some form of my money back. And they're like, well, yeah, well, that was an option and now it's not an option. I'm like, well, why is it not an option? They're like, well, because the seller already set up for the return shipping label. They're like, and it shows that you printed it. I'm like, I didn't print anything. I haven't printed a damn thing. I said, I've been in contact with you guys. You guys are telling me that I need to wait for the seller to respond. He did that immediately. I called you guys immediately after I got that email that he did for a full refund. Like, how am I not doing anything that you guys are telling me that I should have done? I did everything you told me to do. I followed everything. And I'm like, I'm not happy. So in the end, which is why I'm like so annoyed, is because the seller got to keep his money. I get to keep the new item that's used. And he gets to keep going on and doing this to other people. The only thing that they suggested that I do is I give him a negative feedback, and in the hopes that the seller would want to then work with me to try to make me happy so that I can then go back and do another review saying, oh, so-and-so worked with me and, I take back my bad review. No. I gave a bad review. I said, buyer beware. Item not as described, was not new, do not buy from the seller. And it dropped his 100% down to 75, which I am happy for, because this was not new. He could have responded back to my email and said, look, I don't do partial refunds. It's either you keep the item or I refund you your full money. If he wrote back that way, I would have then at least said, okay, well, then that's not how you should do things, but I'll keep the item then because I'm not going to go through that. Or maybe eBay would have been able to have stepped in and said, well, no, the person is asking for a partial refund for this reason, and, you should do some form of a refund. Plain and simple. Like, I don't understand how they say that they protect their buyers and sellers, but they're not protecting anybody, because in this instance, they protected the seller when the buyer did everything right. Everything as far as contacting, opening up a claim, contacting and contacting and contacting, and creating more and more stress and annoyance on the buyer. And the seller gets ended in the seller's favor, and he gets to keep his money. And to do this to somebody else because somebody bought another one of them from the other listing. And I just hope that, if theirs is like how mine was, that they can get money back. Because if this happens to somebody else and it's not new like they said, and they put up a fight about it, I hope it goes in that buyer's favor, because this was not fair. This was not fair at all. You're telling me that, we're here to help you. We got to help you, but this is how we have to help you. And then at the end, when I followed everything that I was supposed to do, they're like, well, we can't help you. Sorry. Like, seriously, eBay? Come on. Like, come on. I've been buying and I've been selling things with you for a while now. And I'm talking years, since like 2009. And it's like, seriously, I've had issues, like I stated before, being a seller where, somebody, I gave them an item, it was a brand new item, but it didn't work. I didn't know it was defective. I had no idea. So what I did was I told them, look, you can keep the item and I will give you a partial refund. And I refunded him half of his money because he liked the item. I'm sure all it needed, because it was a clock, all it needed was a new little, dial switch that you can pop in and out and, fix that. So I was like, I'll give you half your money back and you keep the item. Sorry for the inconvenience. Like that's how you work as a seller. That's how you deal with situations like this. You don't just ignore your buyer completely and be like, oh, well, I just know that it's going to end in my favor because I'm showing that I'm doing a refund. How is that okay? Like eBay, you should have your return section set up so differently. You really should. You should have a section that if you want to do a partial refund, you fill out a specific form for a partial refund. That way, if the buyer does not want to do a partial refund, okay, it gives you more of a chance to work with the buyer on that end and a separate, full refund one. Because all I had to do was fill out this little box that said the amount that I would like to have. I got to put that in, and I had to like do a little description and add pictures. Because the seller can look at the pictures and go, yeah, I don't care. Either I'll give you all your money back and I get the item back so I can gyp some other person that's not going to put up a fuss and fight about it. Like, seriously, that's what this seller is doing. That is exactly what the seller is doing. And like I said, I will not say the seller's name. I'm not going to blast the seller's page. I'm not going to do that. All I'm basically saying is that this was my recent experience with eBay and with the seller and how it was not fair for me, the buyer. Was not fair at all. I received an item that was not new, wasn't described as new, like it was described. The pictures did not match the pictures that were on there for a single listing. And yeah, and it should have went in my favor, not in the seller's. And it should have went in my favor because of the way that they were talking about it. Like, okay, I get it if, the shipping label and stuff was created and stuff, but I didn't like print it. I didn't do any of that. And I've been on the phone with you multiple times that you guys have supposedly written notes in this account for this issue. So I don't see how I'm not doing everything I was supposed to do. And at the end of the day, when you have an issue like this, where the buyer is not happy and the seller is not communicating, and obviously you can't just release the funds from, the seller's account back to the buyer without speaking to the buyer. Like, I understand that. But at the end of the day, eBay, you should have been the one that stepped in and said, look, eBay will give you a partial refund for all of this inconvenience, for our staff giving you wrong information, because at the end I was talking supposedly to somebody in management and they're telling me that what I was told was not correct. eBay, you should have turned around and helped me with this situation instead of letting me now throw $80 out the window for not a new item like I thought I was getting. All because I did not want to send it back because it is no longer new, because I would have had to have factory resetted the item. That does not make it new. And there was, all of the stuff in those pictures that I showed you. I'm beyond not happy. And I honestly don't know if I want to use eBay for a while anymore. I really don't. I haven't decided. I haven't decided if the stuff that I've got up to sell, if I'm just going to take it all down and leave eBay altogether and find another site. I don't know. But I'm just clearly not happy. I apologize that this is a long video, but this was my most recent experience with eBay, and I'm not happy. I tweeted eBay, told them how, I had this issue with an order, and that, went in the buyer's favor instead of mine when I did everything that I was supposed to do. I did everything. I followed eBay's whole process to a T, and it still ended up with the seller that turned around and did that. So in the end, I left the seller a bad review, and I reported their other listing as fraudulent because it's not going to be what these people are thinking they're getting. So because I tried to go in and say it was a duplicate listing, because it gave you that option for reporting the item that is a duplicate listing, you had to add in like the item number in the bottom, and I put in, the item number in the bottom, and it wouldn't accept it. Just kept saying it wouldn't accept it. So I added both, you know, thinking maybe they needed both from the listing of my listing and the listing of, you know, the other listing that the seller had. I put both in there and it still wouldn't take it. So I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to do it as fraud. It's a fraudulent listing. In my opinion, that was a fraudulent listing. So I don't know. Hopefully, you know, like I said to the other buyer that bought another one of these, I hope it goes better for you. I hope maybe yours was new. Maybe I got the dud one. I don't know, but that was definitely not new. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for letting me rant and rave. I really needed to do that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you've had any issues like this with eBay, or, you know, you've been a seller or a buyer and you've ran into issues like this, please let me know in the comments below. I would really like to know what happened to you guys and how you guys handled it, how eBay handled it with you. And yeah, I'll definitely respond to those. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.